Netflix and Tinder are more similar than you might think, even though on the surface they couldn't appear to be any more dissimilar. One is an amazing video platform that keeps us happy, carefree, and binging interesting content for all hours of the night, while the other is seen as an inefficient, labor-intensive necessity for dating. However, the work that both these platforms do to match you up with things you might like actually couldn't be more similar. When you're scrolling through Netflix, do you ever stop and wonder,
how does Netflix know, given that you like Friends, that you'll also like, I don't know, Will and Grace?
That's Dale Markowitz, a former OkCupid engineer who's now working at Google. During her time at OkCupid, she worked day in and day out with the algorithms used to match people.
So the algorithm that I can tell you about, which I suspect many of these companies are using, is this thing called collaborative filtering. Collaborative filtering is sort of like this kind of clustering algorithm. The most famous example of it is Netflix. It says, oh, a lot of people who like this movie, like this other movie, and you look similar to those people, so I'll make you that recommendation.
So Netflix basically boils us down and puts us into different buckets. If my best friend and I both love horror movies, our Netflix suggestions might end up looking pretty similar. But if I love horror movies and my coworker loves romantic comedies, then we pretty much will never get the same type of movie recommendations from Netflix. And this proves to be important because Netflix is essentially directing what we watch. 80% of Netflix shows are discovered via the recommendation option, which means that we're really just picking off an algorithmically curated list of what the platform has to offer, instead of seeing all the options. And this works relatively well for Netflix, as movies are somewhat cut and dry, but you'd think people are a bit more complex. However, this sort of bucketing system is also something that can happen with human beings.
People sort of fall into different types. There's a range of traits, but then you sort of have maybe a type of what you like. Collaborative filtering, by sort of looking at clustering, can say, oh hey, you tend to right swipe on a lot of people that fall into this cluster of the Brooklyn hipster. You don't have to tell it anything about the people. It just looks that there's this pattern, so it can sort of derive these categories and improve its predictions.
And Dale says that this system works even if you lie in your profile, which apparently happens a lot.
Most apps today, they ask you what you're interested in, but then they actually look at who you message and like. And a lot of times what you say and what you do really don't line up at all.
So our dating apps are basically trying to outsmart us and get us to meet more people they think we'd like, regardless of what our personal expectations are. But that begs the question, why are they so bad at it? Why do people complain so much about not meeting quality people they're interested in when these apps are literally catering to our individual preferences?
Algorithms, in order to work, especially machine learning algorithms, you need a metric to evaluate success. You want this success metric to be how good was their date, basically. But it's really almost impossible to get that data because it happens offline in real life, and users tend to not report things that they don't have to an app.
So maybe the reason that online dating sucks isn't really the platforms itself, but the way we use it. By not updating our apps on the outcome of our dates, how can we possibly expect them to measure how to give us better quality matches?
Most apps use some sort of proxy. Very common proxies are did these two people message each other, exchange email or phone number or some contact information? And they use this to train their algorithm. You can probably inherently see how that's missing a lot of information. How many more people have you chatted with than actually been on a date with? Probably many more, right? And with liking, it's even more extreme, right?
Dating app engineers are aware of this shortcoming and are already pushing towards better systems. Hinge recently launched its We Met feature, which prompts users who have exchanged numbers to ask if they went on a date. Though the apps aren't getting info on how the date went, being aware of whether their match led to a date or not can help algorithms craft better matches for the future.
I imagine that future dating apps will be able to sort of tell a lot about you by what you're doing organically on the web. For example, a future dating app, you sign your Facebook information, and then it basically does all of the work of creating your profile, maybe talking to other AIs to match you with somebody, and then tells you should go to this place at this time because there'll be someone there that you'll probably like.
And more than just getting us better matches, future dating apps may even help us navigate our real-life dates.
Today, dating apps just they say, go meet this person and whatever happens, happens. But I think that it's still weird for us to navigate that first encounter. So one thing I can imagine is if bars used to be the place where you met in the past, now there are smart bars where they can sort of help facilitate your first weird date. Maybe using technology, I don't know.
Though it doesn't seem to be true, the rise of dating apps has made dating a much more painless experience than it's ever been. We have more access to people we know are single or at least seeking relationships, and we can waste less time on people who we just don't vibe with. While all that inherently presents some negatives, it still puts us miles ahead of any generation that came before us. And if Dale's predictions for the future of dating apps are correct, they can make dating even easier and more promising than it is right now. But getting there means giving up a lot more personal data to allow these apps and algorithms to improve. Whether or not that's a worthy trade-off is up to the singles of the future to decide.